Right guys, so welcome back to the next part of this evening. We're going to be looking at the rebirth of the club following the merger back in 1999 and then bring things up to date, looking at where the club is now and what the future holds for Sheffield Eagles. I would like to welcome the second panel on stage now. They don't really need, like the first panel, any introduction. Most of you will know these people. They've been part of this club for such a long time. So the first person I'd like to welcome to the stage is a sponsor of the club before stepping in after the merger to become part of the board of the new club and chairing it for many years. Can you put your hands together please for Ian Swire. Thank you, Ian. Your next one, a former player, heritage number 230, played in the first game of the new Eagles regime, going on to play 196 games for the club and scoring, this is incredible, 926 points. Will you please welcome Gavin Brown. 926 points, that is incredible. Next person to the stage, heritage number 260. He joined the club back in 2001, played 274 times and scored 60 points. Can you put your hands together please for Jack Howieson. 60 points and he scored 928. I'll be honest, Jack, I've never felt as awkward in my life as well. And that included some of the points at training as well, so well done, Jack. Your next one, heritage number 312. He joined Sheffield Eagles in 2006, played 112 times, scoring 928 points. Jonny Woodcock. And last, but certainly not least, it's been a privilege to get to know this guy, what a character as well, and what a player this man has been. Heritage number 375, he joined back in 2010, played 130 games, scoring 80 points. Please welcome Andrew Henderson. Thanks, Endo. Always good to see you. I'm going to start off on this side. Start off with you, Ian, if that's okay. Thanks so much for joining us. You don't have to stand up. It's absolutely fine. You can sit down, especially mainly because you've not really got dressed up for the event. So I'm only joking. I know him very well. Ian, there's so much to talk about. Probably not enough time, but I want to ask you about your involvement in this great club. What probably prompted you to be part of the group that created the new Sheffield Eagles all them years ago?
I think it was a phone call from Tubby's dad, Brian. Brian rang through after the merger and said, look, we're thinking of putting the club back together. Would you be interested? I said, no chance, no chance. He said, well, we've had a word with Huddersfield and they're quite keen on us doing it. I said, how does that work? He said, well, they don't really want the merger, they want a club in Sheffield and we need to try and put something together. So it seemed a bit of a challenge, so I said, yeah, okay then. So we got together, Brian, obviously Mark, John Whalen, who was a big part of it, Ian Annis, who's sadly no longer with us, and we put a very good, as we thought it was, claim into the RFL to take a position back into the league, into the Northern Ford Premiership as it was then. We went round all the clubs, we spoke to the Super League clubs, spoke to the Championship clubs. They all seemed to support us, so we went along to Headingley, made our presentation to the council there, sat in the room downstairs waiting for the response, and it was Joe Lydon came in and told us we'd failed. Despite all the promises that had been made by the clubs, it turned out that the Championship clubs decided they didn't really want us in there. So that was it. We went off on our merry ways, and then we spoke to the chairman of the Championship clubs. He said, well, look, what happened then? You said that you were all going to vote for us, and it turned out only Barrow and Bramley voted for us, all the other clubs voted against. He said, don't worry, Ian, don't worry. He said, one of the clubs is going to drop out of the league in the next week or so, and you shoehorn in for that one, so just hold steady, don't say anything too much, but it'll happen. So about a week or two later, Mark gets a phone call from the RFL saying, right, Bramley have dropped out of the league and you're in your position. So big celebration, made an announcement that afternoon straight away, we're in the league. And then we got a call from the Championship chairman saying, you jumped the gun there, you're not in the league at all. So from the euphoria, we're back down to, well, what the hell happens now then? Well, it's got to go back to the RFL for a vote again. So we went back to Salford this time, having spoken to a few clubs, and certainly the Championship clubs individually, Oldham, Swinton, said they would vote in favour of us. So we went back over to Salford and eventually scraped our way into the league. Enough clubs had changed their minds and voted for us, so we got in. So it was quite a battle. It'd taken about 3 weeks. It was the start of December, and we got the Bramley fixtures, which started on the 31st of December at Lancashire Links, and we had to get a team together, which is where Gavin comes in, because I think Mark had got quite a few of them lined up by that stage, but nobody was quite clear what was happening. So it was interesting times, should we say.
Sounds like a pretty plain sailing, to be honest, that from listening to you there as well. There must have been a point with all that where you're thinking, why am I bothering?
There were a few points where we thought that, and to be honest, once we got in, I remember saying to Brian, right, we've got you in now, over to you. He said, no, where do you think you're going? I said, well, you asked me to help you get into the league. I looked at all the finances, we put the package together, we got in the league. I've done what you asked me to do. He said, no, you've got to stay on. You've got to stay on as a director. I said, well, hang on, I didn't sign up for that. So I had to go to my works and get permission to do it. And off we trooped to Lancashire Links, and Brian says, right, we need a chairman. So we'll look round the room. Well, okay, just for a week or two till we find somebody. So we went to Lancashire Links, we beat them, won that first game in borrowed kit. Comes to the end of the game, and Brian again says, right, you're going to have to say something on behalf of the club. I said, what? He said, you're going to have to stand up and respond to their chairman and thank him for his hospitality. So basically, I had 17 years of thanking people for their hospitality. It was always harder actually when we won. When we lost, it was quite easy to thank him. When we beat them, it was tricky. And there were some great days, some great victories in those early years. I remember winning at Hulkington Rovers in borrowed kit as well. We went with the same shirts as them. And we had to borrow their away shirts, and we beat them, which is quite ironic given where Hulkington Rovers are now.
I know a lot of people from London were probably confused when they saw a team in same kit as them opposite him, so that might have helped. You kind of brushed over that, the Lancashire Links game, when you had to borrow a kit for the first game. When you look back what this club achieved, that must be a bit of a surreal memory.
The whole thing was quite surreal looking back on it. As I say, yeah, we played in those blue shirts. The only time we played them, it's probably the one kit that's missing from the collection, because I don't think we ever got them back off Lancashire Links. It was I think the biggest crowd they'd ever had. We had all the Super League followers at Sheffield, and we took a lot of people over, probably going on for 1,000 people over that game. Nobody knew any of the players. And then Jonny Bruce went over that first try, and everybody went ecstatic. And then Mark Aston lost 2 of his teeth in the... That's all I can remember about that game, to be honest.
Nice memories them as well. I know Mark Aston sorted his teeth out. It's on YouTube actually. He went over to Turkey and sorted them out. Ian, it's really nice to chat to you. I think you're a proper rugby league man, and I know you can be very proud up on this stage as well. Put your hands together, please, will you, for Ian Swire. I want to bring in the guy next to you. Gavin, when I read out your stats, I looked at them and thought, is that right? That is incredible. 926 points, that is an unbelievable record. Just talk us through them points, if you will. No, you don't have to do that, really, I won't mess it. I'll take you right back to the beginning, Gavin. What made you sign for Sheffield Eagles back then, especially with all the uncertainty at that time?
The timing was perfect for me. I'd spent a year in Australia, having played at Leeds Rhinos previous to that, and I was looking for a fresh start. I got the call off Tubby and Howard to meet at Junction 40 at the hotel. I think he took it off Gary. He's a great salesman, and he sold the club, and he sold the vision, And like I say, the timing was perfect, and I couldn't wait to get on board.
What are your memories of that, you know, your kind of first game? I mean, we kind of touched on that with Ian.
Yeah, it's a bit surreal, really. Cobbled the team together. We trained 2 weeks previous to the game, and there were 5 of us at Don Valley Stadium. Jogged out, Chris Robinson, Steve Walker, John Strange, and we didn't really have much to do because there were only 5 of us, and Tubby as well. We did a little bit of passing, and then in 2 weeks' time we put a team together, which, to be fair, on paper was a pretty handy team. We go across to Chorley or Lancashire Links, and not knowing what to expect, and the following was unbelievable. And the feeling when Brucey scored that first try, which is on YouTube and that, and you know, I go back and I watch that, and it still puts tingles on my spine. It was a great feeling, great to get that first win.
Absolutely. I don't. When you mentioned Big John Bruce there, I mean, he was a character where he's sadly no longer with us, but a big part of this club, and I think everybody had a lot of time for Big Bruce.
Yeah, very well thought of by the playing group. A character larger than life. You know, what happened to him a couple of years ago was heartbreaking, but he took it face on, like the character that he is. And a lot of the lads that played with him during that time managed to go see him for one last time, and you know, he was sort of Sheffield through and through, and the time that he had at the club, was one of the best times of his life. So, good on you, Brucey.
Thank you. Guy, I want to ask you, you speak about the achievements at this club, but how much of an achievement was it to survive that first season when you came back?
Yeah, survive. You know, we got that first win, and everything was like, we're going to do all right this year. But it was a real struggle. We had some really good players, and we were coming across teams that had been together for 3 or 4 years, and we were just narrowly missing out. And we lost 3 games. We managed to get a win against Unslip. Then we lost 9 on the trot, and it was like, oh my God, what's going on here? But we managed to turn it by the end of the year, and the momentum at the end of the year just seemed to be turning in our favour and getting that culture and the momentum back, ready for the season after.
When you look at your stats for that season, do you sometimes look back and think, I wish some of my teammates had tried as hard as me, we might have been a bit... You don't have to answer that one if you want. You know, you can answer it. Go. What about the characters that you played with though in that team? Who kind of sticks out from that first season?
Well, one of the big reasons that Ian told us earlier, that Bramley dropped out. So there was a lot of players from Bramley that I played with previously, and people from sort of Leeds, where I'm from, that I knew. And you know, we had a big orange Mercedes Sheffield Inns community minibus, which I used to drive down, and there'd be like 8 of the lads in the back of the bus, and there were some real characters in there, the likes of Andy Brent, Wayne Freeman, Glenn Freeman. They were just... It's really hard to describe up here without going into too much, detail that I possibly can't share up here.
No, please do. I've been here before. There's definitely no grasses in this room tonight, I can tell you that as well.
But yeah, so then obviously Chris Robinson, I was 21 when I joined and still learning the game, and Chris Robinson was the captain, and he played at Keighley, and really experienced player, and the amount that I learned off him in that first season was massive, and a lot of respect to him, and we still come across each other in the business world now, and he was a great character.
Brilliant memories. Just before I move on to Jack, I just want to speak to you about Jack next year as well. I don't think he's looking forward to this microphone bit as well. He did his talking on the pitch. He's sweating like I was on the wedding day because I couldn't get out of that either, so I feel your pain, mate, as well. But some great players on here with you.
Yeah, lucky to play with all of them. One of the big things about the resurrection was creating our own pathway of players, and the big part of that was the student pathway, and that's what Jack came through. When he first joined the club, the professionalism and student life, I'm not sure matched up, just to start with. But once he got through that hurdle and, you know, got stuck in, what a great player and leader of the club he's been over many years.
Brilliant words, thanks so much. Putting hands together, please. What a pleasure to have you. Come on, Jack, let's just get this over and done with, mate. You don't want to be up here, do you, as well? You did your talking on the pitch, but just being up here tonight, you look nervous, obviously, but to hear Gav talk about your journey, just tell us a bit about what that was like, because you said you was a student. Was that at university?
Yes, so I came up from Hempstead.
Yeah.
I'm from, obviously, not a rugby league.
Yeah, I can kind of figure that out, to be honest, when you first sentence it, you're not from Sheffield, do you know what I mean?
So I obviously moved up at university. I was spotted playing the varsity game by Tubby, didn't want to watch the game, so thank God he put some faith in me, but I think a lot of other clubs maybe would have not done at that time, gave me a chance. So
it's a nice story, that what he's done for this club. It's just incredible, really, is Mr. Sheffield Eagles, and to hear that he gave you a chance, he spotted you, I think kind of says it all.
It's surreal, obviously, this night going ahead with him not being here as well. So especially, I know a lot of people in this room will probably agree that it's strange that it's not come up more in the conversation. And lots of the players here, well, all the players here, I'd say, would definitely thoughts going out to him at the minute. It's a really tough time for him.
When you joined the club, Jack, it were actually the second season after kind of the rebirth. What was it like at that time? Because obviously Gavin was in there in that first season. Was it a little bit more settled down when you joined?
Probably not, no.
I can see that from your face straight away as well.
As obviously mentioned before, not being from rugby league area, walking into changing rooms with the likes of Jonny Bruce, Andy Bren, Richard Goddard, well even Tubby himself and Howard Cartwright. I didn't have a clue what was going on most of the time, to be honest. I remember Howard at training once, he said to me, it's blue again greens. And I just didn't have a clue what he was on about. Blue again greens. I literally just staring at him for ages, thinking, what's blue again greens? And running into oil as well, and I was thinking, yeah. So I'm not sure, I still don't know what he's talking about with that.
It's amazing that, because I don't understand a word you're saying to me. What phrase kind of stuck out when I always say if anyone comes from London, the first thing you'll recognise when you come to Yorkshire is people saying how much. Was that kind of the main phrase that you heard from everyone?
Yeah, pretty much. Right.
So you come up from London, that must have been an amazing feeling the first time you go in Wetherspoons, it's £1.20 a pint. Is that probably one of the reasons you came up?
It's why I stayed, definitely, yeah.
I was a bit cheeky when I introduced you to the stage. I know Gavin scored 926 points, Jonny 928, so we can actually talk about your 60 points if you want.
The goal kicking always at the tries.
Just talk us through a while, mate, we've got 10 minutes.
Well, I think I played 13 seasons and scored 13 tries, I did enough.
I tell you what, it's 13 seasons more than me, mate. I'm only being cheeky on the serious note.
Kicked one goal as well, so.
Yeah, talk us through that goal then.
Touchline, testimonial game against Huddersfield, hit the post and went in.
I tell you what, if you're going to do it, you did it in style, didn't you, as well. I know you were nervous getting up, but they are such lovely memories for you. I can see you kind of relaxed and that. You play it tough as well, but just speak to us about some of the, when you come up from London, the kind of, who were you kind of your closest friends at the club at that time, and more importantly for us, because we're like a gossip, who could you actually not stand at the club? Don't mention anything that's on stage, or that will be awkward.
It's actually quite hard to say, because obviously was here for so long. I was speaking to Gav beforehand, and trying to, lots of people we played with, he's forgotten who they were, or they played for a season or played for a few games. I moved to Sheffield with a friend from down south called Simon Tillier, who was one of my best mates at the time. Well, I suppose he still is the best mate, one of the best mates. So I was good mates with him. A few of the younger lads that came on at the same time, of Carl Shenu, who's my brother-in-law. Andy Poynter was a good mate as well. Greg Hurst in the early days. And obviously as the years went by, there's loads of other people that you still call mates, and that are still very, very close friends.
Jack, you know, you look at your stats and you say you signed for the club in 2001 and you played until 2013. That is something you can be incredibly proud of, especially on a night like this. Well done, and thanks for all your efforts for this great club. Put your hands together, please, for Jack Howieson.
This is so wet.
What do you mean?
This is a wet.
Oh, I thought I was
There's a Jack. Yeah.
Right, okay. Jonny, unbelievable career. I read some of your stats out. What's it like starring on Love Island at the moment?
It's just what I do. Right. It's every year now, so they get me back in. It's alright.
You must feel good coming on this stage and see Jack and Gavin still looking like that.
I'm 5'2". It's not great.
Yeah, but you won't be on photos, mate. You're going to look good when you sat down. That's right. There's so much to talk about, really, with you, Jonny. I'm going to ask you, by the time you joined the Eagles back in 2006, it probably felt like a new club was more established and you got promotion for the first time ever during that season. How did it feel to join a club that was actually progressing really at that time rather than all the uncertainty that went before that?
Obviously, our Donny lad played for Doncaster Dragons for a while. Took a year out and took a chance on me. Didn't really know much. I sort of stayed out of the game for a little bit. Didn't really know much about it, about how the club were going, because I sort of fell out of love with the game. Took a chance on me. So what sort of side they were building. Pretty much all of them were from Hull. And loved it. Fell back in love with the game. You cracking or you just wet?
You are having that effect on him as well, mate, you know what I mean? You must be. So, just of all the seasons you played, which probably one would you stand out for you as the one that you're kind of most memorable?
I love the first season when we got promoted. From not playing at all, like I said, took some time out, and then fell back in love with the game. Like got to meet all the new lads, and yeah, like it were a bit bittersweet to start with because we finished second in the league that year, behind Dewsbury. It was Dewsbury, wasn't it? And
It don't really matter about them, just throwing any name really.
But because of that, we got to play in the grand final, and the feeling of winning the grand final, even though we finished second in the league, it was unbelievable. That was my favourite moment of my career.
Special memories. You know, looking at the stats here, look what you scored. 928 points. Gavin scored 926. So between you, that's a lot. That is unbelievable record for two people to be on this stage.
I'd give it an extra year if I don't know.
Really, would you? But you beat Gav. How important to that? How important was that you beat him? Because I know that you're not over keen on the bloke.
No, never liked him when I played for Donny. No, I would say Gav is a Sheffield Eagles legend. I wouldn't describe myself as that because I obviously played for Donny. He were Sheffield Eagles mad, and I'm just happy to be sort of part of that conversation and happy to score those points and get a chance to do that.
Says a lot about you, a lot of humility there, which is always nice to see as well. You are a legend of this club.
I am very humble.
I know, I can see that as well. Give him a massive round of applause. That's character. Andrew Henderson, what an absolute legend of a man. Now, there's so much to talk about you, Endo, as well, but what are your memories when you initially got asked to join Sheffield Eagles? You're from a great rugby league family, you.
Yeah, no, it was, well, to be honest with you, Pete, it came at a really, really good time for me. I took out a couple of tough years. Once I left Castleford, I went to Gateshead, they went into administration. I went to Barrow off the back of that, and there was a bit of a crazy chairman at the time, I don't need to mention his name, but wasn't kind of operating things well there. So I got an opportunity mid-season to make the transition to Sheffield, and Forever grateful to Mark Aston for not only giving me that opportunity at a tough time for me and my family at that time, but also to introduce me to the coaching side of things as well. So it was a double win for me. Got the opportunity to play in a great side and got the opportunity to sort of cut my teeth at coaching as well.
It's really nice to see how much this club means to you. Can you just tell like the fans about your kind of career path, where it all began for you as a youngster?
Well, yeah. Basically, I was born in Torquay, Devon, so I'm a plastic Aussie, so not a real Aussie. But yeah, look, obviously emigrated to Australia, got brought up there, and that's where I discovered rugby league, and very quickly fell in love with the game. Very, very passionate about rugby league. And I was very grateful to get an opportunity to use the British passport to come back to the UK when I was 21. So did 3 seasons over here, started at Salford, a couple at Barrow, and then made a season back in Australia before coming back to Castleford for a 4-year period. And then, as I discussed before, a bit of turbulence for a couple of years there at Gateshead and Barrow, but then obviously finished off here at Sheffield with 4 great seasons.
Thanks, Endo. I think one of the things I've said earlier, and I've kind of reiterated it a few times, that Kath Etherington touched on this, that Sheffield Eagles, to me, and it always seems like a really welcoming family club. Would you say that kind of summarises it when you joined?
Yeah, absolutely, and I think we have to thank the people that started the club up, and I certainly want to thank the Sheffield Eagles Heritage Project tonight, because what a fantastic event that they've managed to put on to get supporters of the club, sponsors of the club, the people that set the club up, past players, current players, to be here together to talk about the proud history that it does have. And I know probably as a club we've had a lot of turbulent times and some troubled times, but we've had some great times as well, and I really hope they do continue. But I definitely want to thank the staff of the Heritage Project for putting on tonight.
You won the grand final 2 years running, but prior to that you lost to Featherstone in the grand final. Do you think as a player, as a team, you learned from that for what came afterwards?
Yeah, absolutely, Pete. I was fortunate enough to be at a time where the club was in a pretty good place, and it was kind of building for Super League, but I think at the time it was the licensing system and we didn't quite have the capabilities to make that transition should the opportunity have come its way. But I'm just very fortunate to have played in a good era for the club. We had a wonderful playing roster, some talented players. Some are still in the room here today. And like I said, we played Featherstone. Darryl obviously was coaching them at the time, and they beat us in 2011. And rightly so, they were the better team and had a very, very good side and well coached. And unfortunately, I think it was at the Hallywell James one at Darryl that day, if you remember, in 2012. We obviously did enough to get the job done that day. But yeah, certainly learned some lessons from the year before, that's for sure, mate. And I'm obviously grateful that we got the job done in 2012 and then managed to back it up in 2013.
Brilliant, thanks, Endo. Just as a player, and I mentioned about how many homes Sheffield Eagles have had in the 40 years. What was it like as a player, kind of going from ground to ground? It must have been strange at times.
Yeah, well, for the large part of my career here, it was Don Valley Stadium, but there was a period where we were utilising both Don Valley and Bramwell Lane. So it was, they're both very good playing surfaces, 2 great stadiums. But the final year we went back to where Gary first started the club at Howieson, so that was a culture shock. And I remember that was the final season I played at Sheffield. And if I'm being honest, obviously Don Valley got knocked down, so again we had to find somewhere to play. Howieson were very accommodating to have us there, but for the team that we had and the style of play that we had, it really did not suit us. If I remember correctly, Jack, that year we struggled at home, because it was a tight field and we like to play a more expansive game of rugby. We didn't quite have the firepower. No, we did have the firepower, Jack, sorry mate, yesterday. But we didn't quite have the capabilities to go through the middle of teams, and when you're playing on a tight field, you needed a big pack that was a little more mobile, wanted to move the ball. So we won a lot of games away, but struggled a bit at home. But yeah, it was tough to deal with, and I'm just glad to hear now, as a club, that I think Tyson spoke about it at the start, that there's going to be a home that they can call their own.
Do you know what? I'm just going to finish off on this now, Endo. When I walked in tonight, I saw you walking in and I looked at your face. I've got to know you through my job at different clubs and you working as a brilliant pundit. I hope you don't mind me saying that. But when I saw you walking here tonight, your face lit up when you looked around and saw people in here. And I think for me, that kind of showed me how much Sheffield Eagles means to you.
Yeah, no, it's well, like I said, I'm very grateful to Mark Aston. I know it's a shame he's not here tonight, but I'm grateful for the opportunity he gave me to not only be part of a great team, but also get the opportunity to cut my teeth coaching. But no, it's a wonderful club. You know, it's a club that's always, you know, it's always had to battle at times. It's proud of where it comes from. It's proud of its roots. And I'm just grateful that, like I said, that the club has gone for 40 years and we're going for a lot longer. But great to see so many old faces, fans, sponsors, players. It's wonderful, you know what I mean? But got some very, very fond memories from this club. Probably the biggest one was having in the change rooms. I'll share you a bit of a story. QLT fancies himself as a bit of a boxer, doesn't he? You know what I mean? So yeah, thought he was Muhammad Ali. So what he used to do is, whenever we used to have sort of differences at training, so to speak, we used to have a bit of a boxing match in the change rooms to sort of settle differences. Now, there was a player that played at the club, Liam Higgins, the Big Show, they used to call him, Big Bopper. So I used to tease the life out of him. I played with him at Castleford, tease the life out of him. I used to give him shit as well at Sheffield training all the time. So I used to rub him up the wrong way. He was always wanting to have a pop me. Anyway, Q comes out with this great idea, let's do these boxing matches in the thing. So what happens, I get paired up against the Big Show, you know what I mean? So, wow, they talk about an unfair advantage. So, up against him, and just bear in mind, just so everybody knows, he's just finished training for a charity boxing match, so he was fully trained, fully equipped. And no, before you ask, I didn't knock him out, no. You know, he absolutely poleaxed me in the change room, so I think off the back of that, it was knocked on the head, you know what I mean? I think I suffered from concussion, but anyway, that was one of the highlights of my time at Sheffield Eagles.
Brilliant. Endo, you're a legend. All of you. Thanks so much, you guys. Thanks so much, guys.